This gentleman that is going to be coming up and speaking now, I have been a fan of since the time that he basically burst onto the scene. One of the great things about this community, and you're going to hear it just over and over, we've already heard it, is the number of people who are dedicated to creating the tools for the others of us who are in the space to create the things that are consumer facing. And so it's such a crucial aspect of putting together a network, of putting together the infrastructure to build a community. And this gentleman is, in my opinion, one of the major rock stars in this regard. So coming to the stage now, or on the stage I should say, is Gabriel Cardona, the creator of Bitbox SDK and director of developer services at Bitcoin.com. He's focused on bringing tokens to the BCH ecosystem and empowering developers to change the world with Bitcoin Cash. He's going to tell us about the state of Bitcoin Cash 2019. Please put your hands together for Gabriel Cardona.
Test. Everybody can hear it okay? All right. Thank you so much. All right, let's make sure we got everything set up here. Thank you so much for having me. It really is a great honor to be here. This is my first time in Australia, and I'm here with my son and my mother in the back of the room. And thank you. Yeah, so far it's absolutely beautiful. It's really great to see genuine adoption worldwide, so thank you so much. We're here for about a week after the event, so if there's anything we absolutely have to see, please reach out and let us know. Excellent. Okay, as he mentioned, my name is Gabriel Cardona. I'm the Director of Developer Services at Bitcoin.com, and today I'm going to be presenting on the state of Bitcoin Cash in 2019. So I would like to consider where we are today and to project forward to where we're going to be. But before we get there, let's take a quick moment to consider how we got to where we are today. So looking back, I got my notes here, so I've got to simultaneously do this. All right, so humble beginnings. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step or a single keystroke. So, Bitcoin was originally created as peer-to-peer electronic cash system, and everybody's seen this headline. It's been used 1 trillion times. But really, this was very unique because for the first time ever, you had the ability to send any amount of money to anybody, anywhere, nearly instantly and nearly for free. So it's the first time censorship-resistant digital cash for the internet nation emerged. And everybody in this room lives and breathes this every day. So of course, sitting where we're sitting with all of the different blockchains and all of the different whiz-bang technology, it's really easy to kind of forget the purity of that original vision, peer-to-peer electronic cash. But if you can place yourself back in 2008 and you can remember what the financial crisis was, and if you can kind of internalize and appreciate how important money is to the human condition, then you can really feel the purity of that original vision. And you know that peer-to-peer electronic cash is what it set out to do, disempower the banks and empower the underbanked or unbanked, is a very powerful vision. So, Satoshi Nakamoto kicked off a vision 10 years ago, the financial revolution. I would think as a society we've not quite wrapped our minds around it yet. I think we're starting to, but I just want to personally express gratitude to Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever or whatever he, she, or they may be. So Bitcoin Cash was born out of a confluence of events. You can see this nice chart on the left here. You can see that there was sort of this exponential growth in Bitcoin, and then around 2015 or so, it was pretty obvious that the size of the blocks were going to fill up and it was going to hit this 1 megabyte, and there were all kinds of very intelligent people, probably several in this room right now, that proposed many different solutions, and there was like a scaling war that raged on for a couple of years. Everybody knows all about this. Well, around 2017, there was a technology called segregated witness, or SegWit, which many people have heard of in the BTC chain. And it was sort of pitched as this dual solution of slightly scaling, but more important, solving transaction malleability, which would enable second layer technologies like Lightning Network, which would be scaling technologies. And this was scheduled to go live sometime in August. I think it went live on maybe the 20th or so. So as I perceive it, that kind of acted as sort of like the catalyst or the tipping point that brought together the people, Amaury Sachet and other people, to kind of code up the original fork of Bitcoin Cash. So in the very beginning of August 2017, Bitcoin Cash went live. And so we think of Bitcoin Cash not just as money of the internet. That's the real easy thing to say. When people say, what is Bitcoin? It's so confusing. You can say it's not. It's digital cash. It's money of the internet. But really, it's much, much more than that. It's the internet of money. And so we think of Bitcoin Cash as a value transfer network. And similar to other networks, you can have network effects apply. So you can see this chart on the right-hand side, you can see the number of transactions and then per day squared, and then you can see the value of the BTC chain. And they, the two data lines eerily map into around 2015 when the blocks started filling up, and then there was a divergence. And so, of course, you can't always look at data and automatically figure out a causation and a correlation connection, but to me it kind of implies here that there is a network effect and that we're dealing with a whole new form of network, and we're dealing with a network of value and a value transfer. And similar to other network effects, the value of the network grows in proportion to the number of nodes on the network or the number of people interacting with the network. So, the number of people using the network obviously is driving the price up. So. The chart on the right, you can see it's logarithmic. It's growing by factors of 10, so a 45-degree angle would be exponential. So, you can see that it was growing pretty aggressively. And it's my personal opinion that not scaling the blocks out really stunted blockchain technology, and that we would have seen blockchain technology have a much larger impact on the world. I often use the analogy, it's a little bit crude, but I use the analogy of think about mobile. Mobile came out in 2007, 2008. Blockchain came out in 2008, 2009, and imagine the impact that mobile technology has had on the world. Blockchain technology has made a lot of people a lot of money, and it has certainly had a lot of computer science impact, but it hasn't had the social impact that it really is geared to do. And I believe that we're still on this side of it. So the work we're doing today, I think, is going to help set that off. So, Bitcoin Cash has been battle hardened on multiple fronts. So, I've been now a software engineer for over a decade, and I've been doing open source pretty much my whole career. So I've worked on many, many different projects, and I personally have never witnessed a project which has more sort of disinformation surrounding it than Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Anybody here who is online knows there's just an endless stream of misinformation for what is effectively an open source project. You don't see Ubuntu and Debian like hating each other in the same way that you see all these different crypto forks hating each other. So there's something incredibly contentious about this, and it's because we're dealing with value and money, and we're dealing with a whole new kind of network. And so it does bring out these sort of religious overtones, and it's very tribal. And so Bitcoin Cash had the Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision, the BSV fork, last November with the so-called hash war. And then there was also a zero-day exploit. So last May 15th, when we had our upgrade for maybe a few hours, I don't remember the exact time limit, but there were only the Coinbase transaction could make it into every block. And effectively what happened is somebody had identified a zero-day exploit. Somebody found a bug in the software, and instead of identifying it to the software developers, they set on it, and then they waited to attack the network with it. And it's not easy to identify a zero-day flaw. It takes a highly talented engineer to do this. So presumably they're investing resources into this. This engineer could be making them money on some other fronts. So to me, it kind of implies if it's worth attacking for a reason. And I really do think that the work we're doing is having a huge impact in this world. And you see it every day. So it's a no small feat to fork into a successful chain. Bitcoin Cash not only successfully forked, but we've survived a hostile takeover attempt and at least one hack attack. So that's just a real quick of how we got here. Let's talk about, I think I skipped over one. Metrics, let's talk about where we are. What's measured improves. So as everybody knows, in December 2018, there was a huge crash in all of the crypto markets. Bitcoin Cash was no different. It affected everybody. So the next few slides, I have charts just from December until now, because to me that kind of acted as a global reset. It shook out a lot of weak hands. It repositioned a lot of people in the marketplace. So at the end of December, Bitcoin Cash was around $100. It was slightly below $100, I believe. And today, I think it's around $300. So we have around a 300% increase in the value. But to me, where I sit working with the technology, the price is really the least interesting data point. Obviously, everybody in here likes money, and everybody wants to make money. So we all find the price very interesting. But really, the most interesting thing is the technology. And the only reason that BTC has the price valuation it does today is because of the promise of the underlying technology. But really, the promise of that underlying technology is actualized in Bitcoin Cash. So I'm personally of the opinion that the market is basically being fooled right now through disinformation and branding, and it's overpaying for the wrong token, effectively. And I don't believe that you can fool the market like the big market with a capital M. I believe it will eventually route around inefficiencies, and it will wake up to the fact that it's overpaying for the wrong coin. And I believe that the value will shift out of BTC. It may land in Ethereum. Ethereum is very amazing. It may land in Bitcoin Cash. It may spread across all of them, but the promise of BTC is not living up to it, and I personally believe that we are about to see the hegemony or the ruling of the BTC token end, and I believe that's going to allow the real flowering of crypto. And so, $300, again, the price is the least interesting point to me, but I believe the price could be much higher than that. So, all right. Let's go with transaction volume. This is much, much more interesting to me. So as you know, I showed you that original chart which showed the mapping of the price and the transaction volume, and it sort of showed how there was a network effect of value. And so you can see around December till now, we basically have around a 10x in transaction volume. And a big part of this is when Cash Shuffle came online. So ZQuestZ and John did some great work with Cash Shuffle. That's a large part of it. Also, there's a lot of token transactions in there. And then there is this app called Blitz Ticker Data. I don't know if you guys know about it. Their address is 1Blitz, but they're basically every single second they're writing crypto and forex and bullion prices to the blockchain to make it instantly verifiable, unhackable, and forever retrievable. So that really does kind of back up to what I was saying. This isn't just about money. This is about value transfer, and it's about information. And so using the metadata that we can write onto the blockchain, this company is able to write crypto and forex and bullion prices to the blockchain every single second for incredibly cheap. They know it's going to be verifiable and unhackable forever, and then they can retrieve it anytime. So I suspect we'll see more of that. I don't ever think we'll see our blockchain used as like a full-on data store. We'll probably have relationship with IPFS or something. Excuse me, but for small bits of metadata, this is a great example of that. So this particular metric, my team watches every single week. We have multiple stand-ups and we do different KPIs we're trying to hit, and we always pay attention to this metric. Now granted, our team does not own this metric. This is the entire community, but the way we view it is that if we're doing our job properly, if we're creating the great developer tooling and the cloud services to enable developers to create the compelling applications, then it's going to drive this price, or it's going to drive this value higher. So this is something that my team pays attention to every single week. And then perhaps most importantly is merchant adoption. So we're seeing a lot of merchant adoption in places like North Queensland and Tokyo and Bangkok. So I wanted to give a special shout out to Hayden Otto, who's in the room. I wanted to give Yeah, thank you, Hayden. I wanted to give a shout out to Akane over here. Thank you, Akane. And then Jaja SB, am I saying it right? I'm sorry, yes, yeah. So there's people in the room right now who are doing the genuine work of on-ramping merchants all around the world to accepting BCH. And so, the whole idea here is that we're moving into a world where we have a currency which is larger than any other nation. It literally is the digital cash of the internet nation. It's supranational. And so having merchants take up adoption, being able to use your Bitcoin as cash, your Bitcoin Cash as cash is really a big deal. And so Roger Ver, who is the CEO of our company, or the founder of our company, often says, by virtue of exchange, one man's prosperity is beneficial to all others. And so merchant adoption is one of the most important metrics, and we want to do every single thing we can to push this number higher every single day. So if you are a merchant, or you know a merchant, we have an app called Marco Coino. If you go to marcocoino.bitcoin.com, you can submit it and get your store listed. All right, so this is the part I find interesting. Of course, I'm a software engineer. I lead developer services. So I created something called Bitbox SDK. I was working in the Ethereum ecosystem doing smart contracts, and I realized that the development tooling in Ethereum was superior to what was available in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So I basically shut down my startup doing 3D printers and started a startup doing developer tooling for Bitcoin Cash. And I found my way to Bitcoin.com through that. Thank you, Emil and Roger and the team. And so now I'm at Bitcoin.com leading the developer services team, and we have SDKs and cloud services. We have a best-in-class suite of tools. If you need to go from idea to application 10 times faster than the competition, we have the tools you need to do that. So it's basically the pace of change is accelerating. There's a guy named Ray Kurzweil who I'm a huge fan of, who has something called the law of accelerating returns. And what it says is, In our century, the 21st century, we will experience 20,000 years of paradigm shifts if you measure the pace of change as about the year 2000. So you can imagine if you have like a linear regression and you have data points, and you can do rise over run, and that'll give you a change between 2 points, right? So that's the pace of change. So if you have a bunch of data points, is the pace of change increasing? Is it staying static, or is it decreasing? So if you have your measurement at around the year 2000, for 100 years, somebody who was born in the year 1900 and died in the year 2000, imagine everything they saw from the end of the Industrial Revolution to cars, to world wars, to the internet, to space travel, to all of the cryptocurrency, everything. Well, I guess cryptocurrency would have been in 2000, but imagine everybody born in 1900 dies in 2000. That's 100 years. We will experience 20,000 years worth of progress in our lifetime. And so all of that is simply to say that innovation is not standing still. Innovation is in fact accelerating. And if we want to compete, we have to innovate at scale and velocity. So, as Alan Kay says, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. So commerce, Bitcoin is really much more than cash. So going all the way back to the BTC BCH fork, the question has always been, what is Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin a medium of exchange? Is Bitcoin a store of value? Is it a unit of account? Like, what exactly is money? And so a lot of people, some say it can only be one, some say it can be both. Bitcoin Cash proponents, for the large part, say it can really be all of the above, that money is a unit of account, it's a store of value, and it's a unit of measure. And so in order to greater facilitate this sort of exchange, medium of exchange aspect of Bitcoin, we have scaled up the block size to 32 megabytes, which, as everybody knows, is Bitcoin Core does about 1 megabyte today. So that's, today we do about the size of PayPal, but Omri and Bitcoin ABC, their roadmap is for Bitcoin Cash to be able to do 10 billion transactions every day, or 10 billion humans doing 50 on-chain transactions every day. So really this is like worldwide commerce, tokens, smart contracts, Internet of Things, stuff we've not yet imagined. So the very heart of the value proposition that BCH brings is this money and cash value transfer layer, and we of course see commerce as a hugely important problem to solve. So there's been a lot of innovation around zero confirmation. So basically right now, Bitcoin Cash blocks are every 10 minutes. So if you go to a merchant and you say, I want to buy something, the transaction won't clear for 10 minutes, but it'll show up in their wallet nearly instantly. That's called zero confirmation. So the Bitcoin Cash chain has done a lot to make that acceptable for a certain range of transactions. If you're going to buy coffee from somebody and you pay them, they can accept it with zero confirmation because the amount of energy it would take you to basically double spend that is not worth your $3. But if you paid somebody $1 million, maybe it'd be worth you trying to double spend that. So it's a spectrum. How much are merchants willing to accept on zero confirmation? Well, it depends how much risk you're willing to expose yourself to. If you knew somebody very well, I'm sure you would accept $1 million in zero conf because you trust that person. They're not going to rip you off. But a complete stranger, obviously not. So there are a few very exciting technologies which will help bring effectively, nearly instantly transaction user experience to Bitcoin Cash. There's 3 that I'm aware of at the moment. One of them is called Avalanche. And so Professor Amin Gun Sarir from Cornell and a team called Rocket created this family of algorithms called Avalanche, and then I believe one of them is called Avalanche. And basically it uses this notion of pre-consensus to give you 99.999, some number of nines, confidence that your transaction is going to make it into a block and is not double spent in about 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds. So, we're moving from 10-minute blocks. Ethereum has around 20-second blocks. Of course, Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash aren't a one-to-one mapping, but when you're trying to solve problems that the market is used to addressing, you have to be aware of all the different other players, and people do use Ethereum as a value transfer network, so they're used to seeing this very quick block time. Obviously, 10 confirmations in Bitcoin Cash are not equivalent to 10 confirmations in Ethereum, and I'm not suggesting they are, but basically, using this technology, oh yeah, I know what I was going to say. So the guy who funded Mark Zuckerberg to create PayPal, his name is Peter Thiel. He's one of the PayPal mafia. He has a really great book called 0 to 1, where he sort of talks about if you want your solution to win, it has to be a paradigm shift. It has to be an order of magnitude or more, or people are not going to really take it seriously. So again, not a total one-to-one mapping between the Ethereum UX and the Bitcoin Cash UX, but what I really like about this is if Avalanche can give you the user experience of having confidence that your transaction is safe in about 1.5 seconds. That is about a 10x improvement on the Ethereum experience of about 15 to 20 seconds or so. And so that's very exciting. Avalanche doesn't work today. BCHD, Chris Pacia, who's in the room, they have like a live example of it working online, or at least they did. So it does work sort of on testnet today, but this is not live, and it probably wouldn't be live for a little bit. But there's a couple more. There's also Storm by Omni, and then there's another one using this notion of forfeits and check data sig, this opcode. So anyway, all that to say that there are these different technologies which are emerging, which are going to give merchants the confidence that they can accept a Bitcoin Cash payment of basically any size and give the person the goods, digital or physical, in a couple seconds after that. And so that's going to enable worldwide commerce. Next, tokens. So I absolutely love tokens. I spend a huge part of my work week every single week on-ramping businesses and developers into Bitcoin Cash. It's one of the biggest things I do is business development. And nearly universally, companies say two things to me. They say, we know Bitcoin Cash does cash well. Yes, we are thinking about doing BCH payments. But number two, how do you do tokens in Bitcoin Cash? And how do you create smart contracts in Bitcoin Cash? And they ask that because that is the lay of the land now. If they're going out and they're playing with any other blockchain technology other than the BTC derivatives, they're going to be having smart contracts and tokens. Now, those other platforms optimize more for that instead of cash. We optimize more for cash. And so I always like to say this because I've been pushing the token vision now for about a year, and I've been pushed back by everybody in the tribe. And what I always say is tokens don't compete with cash. Tokens complement with cash. And so the market is asking us for a solution, and we have to have one for the market, or the market will look other places. So fortunately, we have a really good solutions for tokens and for smart contracts. And so the thing about tokens are they allow us to take everything we love about the blockchain. It's decentralized, distributed, trustless, peer-to-peer, and we can apply those properties to real-world and virtual goods. So we have what are known as simple ledger protocol, and really simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And so whenever we say simple, that's actually the strength. One of the things about Ethereum smart contracts is that they're very heavyweight, and a token is a fully fledged smart contract, and there's a lot of overhead with that. Our tokens are simply Bitcoin Cash transactions with a little tiny bit of metadata on top. They're very, very quick, and they're very, very inexpensive. You can create a token today for about 1/30th of a penny. You can send them back and forth for about the same amount of money. So I fully expect trillions of dollars will be tokenized. We're talking tokens can represent gold, dollars, equities, virtual goods, mobile minutes, automation bots, gym memberships, concert tickets, one side of a wager, and so much more. I fully expect to see everything tokenized, and I'm very excited to see this technology maturing on Bitcoin Cash. The other one that people often ask for, oh yeah, real quick before I go there, tokens. So they can act as a channel for capital in our ecosystem. There's been $28 billion in token sales in the last 4 years on Ethereum and other ecosystems, and none of that, or very minimal of that, happened in the Bitcoin ecosystems, and we believe that that can happen in the Bitcoin ecosystems over the next 4 years or so, and we're calling that the Tocambrian explosion. And so today there are about 3,500 tokens issued on Bitcoin Cash. There are some which have significant amounts of value in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So smart contracts. We have a language called CashScript. Basically, Bitcoin Cash has a smart contracting language under the hood, but it's very awkward and cumbersome to use. So Roscoe Callis in the crowd here, heavily influenced by Ethereum, created something called CashScript, which allows you to define your smart contracts in a higher level language, and it will ultimately spit out the compiled bytecode for you. We can give you more information on that. Privacy is a basic human right. What you do in your own home with your own body and your own mind is your prerogative. People have been doing whatever they want with their own minds and bodies since as long as there have been minds and bodies, and prohibition is never going to stop that. So we believe that privacy is a basic human right, and digital technology empowers individual freedom, but it also enables mass surveillance. So at Bitcoin.com, we're committed to building tools which empower financial sovereignty and human liberty while protecting personal privacy. So John Fukeball in the crowd and ZQuest created these two great protocols for Cash Shuffle and Cash Fusion. Cash Shuffle is a fully decentralized coin mixing protocol, and then Cash Fusion is coordinated coin joins whenever you want to basically mix your coins back together. So this is very exciting. This is all live today on the mainnet. Cash ID, so the real world and the virtual worlds are converging, and basically cryptography enables cryptocurrencies, it enables tokenization of assets on the blockchain, it enables digital non-fungibility, but it also enables authentication and identity. So, weak passwords are a huge problem online. People's websites get hacked everywhere because they share passwords. You can defeat that by using a password manager, but now you can take it one step farther. You don't even need username or password anymore. You can just sign in and out of passwords using your Bitcoin Cash keys. So the website can issue you a challenge. You can sign it and pass it back with optional metadata. This was created by Jonathan Silverblood here in the front row, and I'm a big fan of this. This is supported today in our Badger wallet. Register with the service as a one-step process, register with the service automatically, authenticate to a service and act as two-factor authentication, so much more. So credit to Jonathan for that. There's also cash accounts, also by Jonathan. So, email blew up because email addresses are able to share. The World Wide Web partially blew up because some URLs can be easy to share, google.com, facebook.com. If you look at the top address there, that's a Bitcoin Cash address. That's incredibly cumbersome, and none of us would read that to another person or pass it along. So you have to copy and paste it or pass along QR codes. It's a barrier to adoption. So there's a great protocol called Cash Accounts by Jonathan that allows you to create human consumable names, like CG Cardona 122, that's me. That maps to that address above. So if you're using Badger Wallet, you can go send Bitcoin Cash or tokens to CG Cardona 122, and it'll send it to the Bitcoin Cash address. So, we feel like this is like a leap forward in terms of usability, and if we want to go mainstream, this is the kind of technology we're talking about. Okay, Badger Wallet. So, we think of Bitcoin Cash as having the ability to, it could be as meaningful as the web and beyond. And in the same way that if you're not using a modern web browser, you will not get the most out of the modern web. If you're not using a modern wallet, you just won't get everything that Bitcoin Cash has to offer. It's an incredibly rich API. And so we created Badger Wallet. We forked Badger Wallet from MetaMask in the Ethereum ecosystem. And we want it to serve as the same sort of goal in Bitcoin Cash. We want it to be a gateway to a world of Bitcoin Cash apps. So it's your identity vault. You can carry around your tokens. You can carry around your cash. It supports contracts, authentication, ID, everything. This is live today, Badger Wallet. And we also have Badger Mobile. So it supports Chrome, Firefox, Android, iOS. 100% open source. And then markets, of course. Recently, local.bitcoin.com that you can see on the top there, it's a non-custodial financial service. So this uses a Bitcoin Cash smart contract to do blind escrows. So we never have custody of your keys. So this is know your customer and anti-money laundering, KYC AML. You don't have to give us your ID or your passport, and this is a peer-to-peer marketplace. And then below that, we just launched our exchange yesterday, which is very exciting because we have BCH base pairs, and we're focusing on SLP tokens. So if you're a person who's launching an SLP token and you're looking for an exchange where to launch it, definitely consider exchange.bitcoin.com. And then finally, because I've got about 3 minutes left, this is looking forward. So, really, like, where are we headed? And where we're headed is smart money, non-custodial financial services. So I credit Vin Armani with coming up with this term. He gets the credit. But really, this is the wave of innovation. Like, what sets Bitcoin apart from everything else? Bitcoin Cash has an extreme focus on value transfer network. And because of our extreme focus on that, and because of certain opcodes like opcheck data sig, for example, we are uniquely positioned to do what we're calling non-custodial financial services. So really quickly, let me just go through. These are all available today. We have a code that works for most of these, but in theory, you can build these today. And we're waiting on the next big wave of startups to come in and do this. So for example, spending constraints. You can now, instead of just doing like a simple, I want to send you money, you're going to send me money, you can put in constraints based on like pulling in data from outside. So for example, the second one is oracles. So imagine this, we want to create a smart contract. Vin and I want to bet on the price of Bitcoin Cash tomorrow at noon. Bitcoin.com publishes the price of Bitcoin Cash every single hour and signs it with their key. We can write a smart contract which pulls that data stream into our code, is able to verify that it was cryptographically signed by that key, and then send out the money to myself or Vin based upon the data that it feeds in. So that's very, very exciting. We also have covenants. So basically that allows you to restrict how funds can be spent in. And also stable coins. So Jonald, who I'm a big fan of in the back there, has a nice paperwork on a potential futures-based asset-backed stable coin. I think that these will look different than what we see in the Ethereum ecosystem, but we already have these emerging. So like the Honest Coin, I worked with those guys to help them understand our tech stack to set that up. So already we're having stable coins emerge in our ecosystem. Recurring payments, so everybody knows about Patreon, where you can go and people can pay you every month. Well, what if you could do that on the blockchain in a smart contract? You can. What about blind escrows? So we have local.bitcoin.com. It's a non-KYC AML peer-to-peer marketplace. We have smart contracts that would allow you to spin that up for your own product. today. So you can have a blind escrow marketplace for whatever product. You can do digital good purchase with PGP signature. This is by Dr. Markel in the crowd. So imagine Oracle wants to use the PGP. You could do atomic swaps of BCH for PGP key certifications. That's very, very exciting. And then there's also paid ID, also by Markel. So a payment is made to a personally identifying string, like a real name or an email address, a social media handle, etc. We also have cold wallet timeouts. So imagine you could put a mandatory timeout of 1 week on spins in your cold wallet, and then during that timeout, you could only spend coins back to your cold wallet. But if you waited for the time to expire, you could spend coins to an arbitrary address. We have enforced multi-sig signing orders, so you can make sure that the people signed it in a correct order or it would be invalid. We have peer-to-peer gaming, and Vince Radamas gets credit there. Player stakes some amount, and the winner takes all. The game dev is paid in a separate account. And we have things like chess on the blockchain. We have SIG hash no input by Dr. Markel. This allows you to redact information about the spinning inputs. So this is most notably TXIDs. So this is going to enable Lightning, L2, bilaterally funded smart contracts. We have permissionless inheritance. Lyco92 created one of these. So this basically implements a dead man switch, and it's 6 months it will trigger. And if you don't refresh your last will contract after 6 months, your funds will automatically be available to your inheritor. So, I have a son, I have a will. I have to deal with a whole legal structure. If I pass away tomorrow, I have to trust that, the lawyer will in fact give my son my crypto. It would be much better if I could set up this smart contract and be very, very sure that my son would get my crypto. We have on-chain auctions, so we're talking about peer-to-peer distributed exchanges. And then we have secure multi-party computation. So all of this is available and enabled now on Bitcoin Cash. You can do this. We have smart contracts for several of these. We're trying to develop templates for every single a cash script smart contract template for every one of these. All right, so that's it. As I mentioned before, Bitcoin Cash has properties which make it far greater than the best money the world has ever known. It is a value transfer network which lets you tokenize anything imaginable and send it to anyone, anywhere, permissionlessly and with no middleman, nearly instantly and nearly for free. You cannot overstate how powerful and how disruptive that is. Bitcoin Cash is smart money, censorship-resistant digital cash for the internet nation. This is an idea whose time has arrived, and you cannot beat an idea whose time has arrived. Thank you so much.
One more time for Gabriel Cardona, please.